Some of the things we covered today in class were using effects, using the layer mask, and using a fill or adjustment layer. I'm going to go over mask very quickly. I'm going to duplicate this layer, and I'm going to take one layer here and adjust my levels and make it darker, like such. And I'm going to say OK. Now when I turn this layer back on, since it's sitting on top, you can't see the changes I made to the layer on the bottom. But if I create a mask in this layer, you'll be able to see things that I want to reveal underneath on the bottom layer. So how do you create a mask? You click on your layer, you click right here, add layer mask. Make sure you're on the layer mask and not on the image. Click here on the layer mask. You want to go to your brush tool, and you want to have these set up, your foreground color as black and your background color as white. And if you click here, it will set it for you, and if you click this double arrow, it will bring the black to the foreground. So I've got my brush and I've got the black foreground. I'm going to go up to my brush size, and I'm going to change my brush size to something a little bigger just so we can see what I'm doing. Okay, so here I've got my brush. It's 422 pixels, and I'm in my mask layer and I'm on the mask. If I take my brush and I start painting, I'm essentially hiding certain things in this layer and revealing underneath the darkened layer. So if you look at the mask, you can see black is what has been hidden and white is still what's being revealed. If I do too much, I can flip this around right here and bring white to reveal, and use my brush to say I want to keep this part light as my layer is here, and only have the dark parts of this layer showing over here. So that's one way of using a layer mask. Another thing you could use is this one here, and I'm clicked on the image on layer 0, and I'm going to select this and say gradient. Now if I choose a gradient, I'm going to double click and choose something kind of crazy like that. And I'm going to say, okay, I could change my gradient. You can look here, I'll show you. If I move it this way, the yellow moves towards the bottom. If I keep it here, it stays in the center. I could click on one of these colors and just drag down and remove it. So I'll make a gradient that goes from orange to yellow. I could flip the gradient around, bring the orange to this side, the yellow to that side. And I'm going to say OK, and here the gradient fill, I can say how I want it to look. Do I want it to be a radial circle, like if it's a sun? Do I want it to be linear? Do I want it to be reflected down? I mean, usually you end up working with linear or radial, so I'm going to leave it with linear right now, and understand that if you move your angle, it moves for you. So we're going to leave it like that. So now you have this gradient fill, it's sitting over both of these images. Well, if you click on this layer, over here is your blending mode for layers. If you click on this and you play with any of these, say I do multiply, this layer is overlaid onto this layer, which is over this layer. And if I want to change these colors, I can double click and then double click again, and I could change these colors, or I could choose something else. So I have this color selected. I can go here and say, you know what, I want it more red. I want it like that. And you know what, I want this yellow white instead. Maybe that's too much. Maybe I'm going to go back and make this kind of a yellow. So I'm going to give it kind of a sepia looking color to it. The great thing about this is that it's sitting above your image. You haven't actually altered the image. You can turn this on or off. You can throw it away in the garbage by clicking and dragging it, or you can leave it as it is. Now, this has a mask. Right here, it's revealing everything. See how this one, the white is revealed, the black is what's being hidden from this one, so you're seeing this through this. Well, I can do the same thing with the gradient fill. I can click here, grab my paintbrush, select the black. I've selected the black, sorry about that. And say, you know what, I don't want the yellow to show over here, or I don't want the yellow to show in her sneakers. See how her sneakers are yellow? That doesn't really make much sense. So I'm going to go right in here. I'm going to make my brush small, and if you use your brackets right and left, you can make your brush small. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to do that, and if you look, it's just those two little black things there that I've hidden so that her sneakers are the proper color. And I might say, well, I don't like the goldenness in her hair and in her neck, so I'm going to make that, I'm going to leave that without the gradient on it. And that's it for this one today.